Witajcie moi drodzy w kolejnym programie Space Tonight Astro Talks. Dzisiaj moim gościem, naszym gościem jest fantastyczny kompozytor. Chciałbym łączyć troszeczkę naukę z muzyką, ze sztuką, ponieważ musicie wiedzieć, że również sztuka i nauka to są dwie nierozłączne ze sobą rzeczy. No, zapewne sobie zdajecie z tego sprawę. Nie przedłużając, słuchajcie, dzisiejszym gościem jest fantastyczna osoba, mój szanowny przyjaciel, kompozytor, który łączy ze swoją pasją muzyczną z naturą, ze światem, który nas otacza oraz całym wszechświatem. Tą osobą jest Kendle, fantastyczny kompozytor brytyjski, nazywany czasami Jean-Michel Jarrem Wielkiej Brytanii albo ewangelistą. Zaraz go o to zapytam, kim woli być lub być sobą. Kevin, thank you for joining me and for my Space Tonight channel. I introduce you to my Polish friends and viewers that you are being called a British Jean-Michel Jarre or British evangelist. So you are your own Kevin Kendle. What do you prefer?
Well, that's very flattering. Thank you very much, Martin, for having me. Well, I'm a big fan of Vangelis, and I'm a big fan of Jean-Michel Jarre. I use the same instruments that synthesizer to create my music, but hopefully I have a distinct style of my own.
Kevin, I would like to share with you my personal reflection with you and our viewers, of course. I want to express how I came to know you through your music. One evening, while I was setting up my telescope for another round of astrophotography and astronomical observation, I was listening to internet radio station playing chill out music all day long, you know, and suddenly I heard one of the most magnificent composition what you've made, in my subjective opinion, of course, which you co-authored with your friend Llewellyn. That track names was The Lost City Part 2 from your album Journey to Atlantis. I remember, Kevin, it made such a profound impression on me, to be honest. I almost dropped my telescope that I was holding, but please tell me, I've got that album with me over here, Journey to Atlantis, and you dedicate to your lovely son Tom, who helped you to give you an idea to create that album. That's correct?
That's right. I'll tell you what happened with that. I think it was 2006. I lost my father. He passed away. And it was, when you're a musician or any artist, it's very difficult to get back into the creative process again. It took a while. It's almost like a tap being turned off, like a water tap where the flow stops. And I was sitting in my studio just trying to create something again. And I think I got a new instrument, a new synthesizer. So I sat my son down in my studio and I said, I knew I was due to create this album. Can you find me some sounds that remind you of water? Find me some watery sounds. So he sat here and he went through all trying the sounds out and he made a list. And he found some really good ones. And he was only about 7 or 8 years old. But it really was the turning point, and I started to use some of those sounds, and the album started to happen. Get back into.
You know, I consider that album it's absolute pinnacle of your work, if I may say that. But although, as you know, as is evident here, I have an extensive collection of your album. I have seven of your albums. I bought them. Of course, I'm waiting for the new one, and I have to buy from you also the old one, Deep Sky series. I have only three albums of Deep Sky, but today I would like to with you about Deep Sky series because it's related to astronomy. I must confess that your music from the Journey of Atlantis or Deep Sky series often fills my astronomical observatory during the observation. You see many times in my Facebook profile that I mention you that with your music I perform some astronomical observations. But you draw inspiration to create your music from what surrounds us, nature and the universe. How does your fascination with astronomy influence to your music composition, Kevin?
Right, okay. You're right that I do create two styles within the genre of music that I create. One is inspired by nature and landscapes, and then, as you mentioned, the Deep Sky series is slightly different, more sort of floating and inspired by space and wonders of sky objects. I'd always wanted to produce space music, if you like, but the synthesizer technology hadn't really made that possible. I had the sounds in my head, but I could not manifest them in the real world until about 2003, when a particular synthesizer came out that just had all the capabilities I needed to do it. So that's when I did probably about half of the Deep Skies one album, Light from Orion, inspired by the wonderful Orion constellation and all the stars within the constellation and the Orion Nebula and so forth. And I sent the demo of this to a friend of mine I've known for years, who's a similar kind of music, guy called Nigel Shaw, who I respect very, very greatly as a musician in his own right. And he said, "This is great. You've got to, definitely continue with it." And he said, "I'd like to be involved with it." So he appears on the albums doing all the sparkly effects. But he recommended that the sound of glissando guitar, which you may not have heard of, would be perfect for this album. And he knew exactly the right player who would be interested in taking part as well. So he lives down in the West Country of Devon in the UK, in a lovely farm down there. So we went down to stay in the cottage on his farm to meet Brian, the guitarist, who he'd recommended. So we had a very surreal night, because it was his wife's 40th birthday, and we'd been to this party. I met the guitarist, which was wonderful. He was really interested in taking part. But what we hadn't realised was it's so dark in the middle of the countryside there. Came out of this hall where the party was into the middle of the countryside, basically.
No light pollution.
No light pollution. The sky was amazing. You could see the Milky Way straight away. But we couldn't find the car. It was so dark. So we'd been walking for about 20 minutes, and someone else left the hall behind us, opened the door momentarily. We could see that we'd walked completely the wrong way, so they had to come all the way back. We found the car in the end. Yeah, the inspiration behind that was the Travis Rector photograph of the Horsehead Nebula. It's the cover of the Light from Orion album. It's such a wonderful. And what inspired me so much about that was it's real. It's not CGI. It's not animation.
It's real one, yes.
In my mind,
But that time, did you use any observational equipment such as telescope or binoculars?
No, to be honest. I use my naked eye, and I know the Orion constellation. I'm not an astronomer. I wouldn't begin to pretend that I am. I do love. I know a bit. Not looking at that much.
Yeah, but you know that during the night, when you're under the night sky without light pollution, with your naked eye, you are able to see the nebulas, even the galaxies. You can see the Andromeda galaxy with your naked eye under the really dark night sky. So that's interesting.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
interesting.
And the fourth Deep Skies album, or the Andromeda album.
But your first album, it was released, which I remember correctly, what I checked on the internet, in 1994. It was Eventide.
That was 1992, in fact. It was an album called Muzyk. In those days, it was just released on cassette because CD was new technology then. So it was very much mastered for cassette. So you had to get, the side A would have to be slightly longer than side B, so that it would flip over and everything like that. So 1994, Eventide, was when I formed my own record label. I'd learned enough in those previous 2 years to know how to distribute the music myself, get it into shops. And that was the first album, actually, Eventide, in 1994, that I produced on CD. And because it was all kind of when it started to happen, I called my record label Eventide Music as well. So.
Yes. That's why I told my viewers that you have Eventide Music, which way can buy your CDs, your albums, discography, with your autograph as well. Every time what I'm buying, when I'm buying from you an album, you sign in with a dedication, which I'm very glad and happy. So I'm touching with one thing what you are doing, not only one thing, but you name your tracks with the names of phenomena that occur in the nature or the universe itself. Does that mean that in your childhood, apart from music, you were also interested in exact science, such as astronomy or mathematics, or you wanted to somehow combine them, that is music and science?
That's an interesting question. Maths has I've never been fond of maths, I'm afraid. Maths, no. Physics I enjoyed. Very much enjoyed that at school.
But music is a mathematics,
Sort of is, yes. But just don't ask me to add anything up. No, I do understand the link with maths, and it's all vibrations and frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
Double a frequency, you get an octave higher. Doubles the speed of the vibration. So, yes, I was interested in physics at school, and just it's more of an artistic or spiritual fascination with the night sky for me, rather than necessarily a scientific one, although the science behind it is fascinating. It's just like the feeling it when I look at the night sky, it moves me in a emotional way. And hopefully that's what I'm trying to do through music, is to move me. So much music today you hear, it just doesn't move me at all. It doesn't have any effect on the heart. And what I try to do is just through manipulating the sounds and knowing where the chords should go, where the frequency should change, you can induce an emotional response. That's the angle at which I'm coming to it, really.
So let me focus on your Deep Sky series, if I may, because if you can uncover your secret about the names, where you get those ideas. For example, I have here your another album, Deep Sky 6, Laniakia. Of course, for our viewers, most of them are scientists, astronomers, they knew which Laniakia is, but for the others, I will only tell that it's a supercluster of galaxies that is home to our own Milky Way galaxy. So where you get those names? Are you have friends, astronomers who tell, listen, Kevin, who say, listen, Kevin, I have a nice name to your new album. You can call the next one meteorites or so on. I have here, the piece of meteorite from the moon over there.
Yes.
And from Mars. This is the piece of Mars which I possess in my collection. So the next album you can call the meteorites. I can recommend. But those ideas, where are they from?
Well, I wish I did have a friend who could suggest all these things. Well, I do now yourself. But,
Thank you very much. I'm honored.
It's really, when I finish an album, I go into what I call the void between albums, where I don't know what I'm going to be doing next. And somehow the next idea arrives with me. I see something in the case of the landscape albums that inspires me, and I think, I can do an album about that. Or you see other things in the sky, clouds are very inspirational. But in this case of the space things, I'm often sort of Googling on the internet and I come across, like, for example, the Lani Kayla album, reading about that. I thought, my God, this is amazing, just the scale and how vast it must be, That's really how it comes about. It sort of arrives with me, the new ideas, and then once I've got the overall concept, I can then work on the individual track titles and what they're going to be called.
So Deep Sky series consists 10 parts or more or less?
It's currently 6 parts, and I'll keep going until probably till I die. It's not. I only do it because it's like the music needs to come out. It's something I need to do. It's not. I don't do it for the money. I do it for the love of it. And there is no definite end point. So it naturally comes to a conclusion.
I always told my friends, and right now to our viewers, that I'm very glad that your music allows to relax, to find yourself, and stimulates the perception and imagination. So this is the purpose and goal of your music, I presume. That's correct?
There is no real purpose or goal. It's just the way it happens. What I do try to do is to make it interesting enough to listen to as a deep listen with headphones or whatever. But also that there's not so much going on that it distracts you from, for example, your night observations. So you can have it in the background as well. But that's where, for me, a lot of albums fall down. There's not enough of interest. If you do want to have a deep listen, to keep your mind occupied. So it's quite difficult to strike that balance between having it in the background and putting enough of things of interest.
That's interesting, because I've told you that I listen to your music during my stargazing or astrophotography, but I would like to tell you that I gave some of your albums, 2 of your albums, to my friend Polish astronomer who are working in Atacama Desert in observatory in Chile. So he one night he called me, because of time difference, of course, and where was a night in Poland, he called me and said, listen, Martin, the Kevin's music is such amazing during the night sky, especially in the Atacama, where you see your own, when the light from the center of our galaxy casts your own shadow to the ground, believe me or not. So the light which travels 25,000 light years casts your own shadow on the ground. So that's absolutely amazing. So he's listening to music in Atacama, your music in Atacama during his observation, but when I prepared my question for this interview, I was in the back of my head. I was some of the question about your inspiration. Could you share, if you can say, any specific astronomical events or phenomena that have directly inspired your compositions?
Well, you just mentioned the fact that the light had travelled all
Yes.
those years to get here.
Yeah.
That's always been a concept.
Light from Andromeda, yes?
Yes, yes. And there's a track on that album which is called Ancient Light.
Yes.
And that's exactly the idea that I'm trying to sort of convey in music. And what you can do with synthesizers is create your fresh sounds that hopefully people haven't heard before. So in that particular track, I've got a slight going on where the sound sort of, it's almost like seeing through heat waves, you know? You can see the light coming, I imagine the light coming from the star and bending, you know, on the way. And I try to convey that in sound, you know. So
That's physics.
Those sort of things that I try and build in.
So listen, I have a new idea for the name of your new album, Total Eclipse.
Yes.
It's a good inspiration, you know. As you know, I've been a month ago in Texas to observe the total solar eclipse. To be honest, we have to move to Arkansas because of the weather, bad weather in Texas. So that was it was my second total solar eclipse. I was 7 years ago in Nebraska. That was my first one. Here a month ago was my second one, and I can tell you that this is one of the most beautiful events what our eyes can see during our lifetime. Believe me or not, we can see the Niagara Falls, we can see the desert of Sahara, we can see the Kilimanjaro, but the total solar eclipse is unbelievable. It's absolutely top-notch what our eyes can see during our lifetime.
Yes, we had a total eclipse here. Oh, I couldn't tell you exactly. It was quite a few years ago. I think probably more than 10 years ago.
1999.
That would have been it. Yes. And that, again, was amazing. You know, when the birds stopped singing, I think the night.
Yes.
It goes still, you know. Just
temperature drops.
Yes. And again, that sort of stillness that falls across the landscape is another thing that I find really inspiring. And that's the name of my album, Eventide. It's all about the evening, you know, which is
yes.
Getting an evening in the day with a total eclipse.
But Kevin, are you planning to focus? I know that you're working on the new album, related to the Norfolk County, yes?
Yes, that's been released now, so that's available. That was inspired by, I'm very lucky to have a cottage in the Norfolk countryside where...
I see a lot of photos in YouTube. So.
It's a really inspiring countryside rural area. And I have a recording studio there where it's nice to go there and just shut out the rest of the world and focus on the landscapes there and get inspiration. So that was that album. The new one is... it's called Afterglow, and it's about the lovely horizon you get when the sun drops below the horizon, and you get that lovely orange,
yes.
deep blue night sky coming down. So it's trying to get all those feelings that I feel when I watch that. And I pretty much finished that now. I spent a week in February up in Norfolk recording it at the studio there. And on the Friday of that week, there's a lovely walk that I do, and it's described in one of the tracks on the Norfolk Landscapes album. I did that same walk, and just as I went out at about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, just as an afterthought, I thought I'll take my drone and I'll take my gimbal camera just in case. And normally the walk takes 45 minutes. I got back after 3.5 hours. Because I could see what's happening. The sun went down. It was really cold in February, you know, it was freezing.
Yeah.
A lovely clear sky. and the sun had gone down, and I got the cover of the album. I was able to take it, and I did some video work with the drone as well.
I don't know if you aware. Do you know the name, astronomical name of the border which divide the day from night on the celestial bodies? Do you know what is the name?
No, what's that?
Terminator.
Oh, really?
Really, it's astronomical definition. Terminator is a border which divide the daylight or from the day side or from the night side. Every celestial bodies which get the starlight has the terminator. So this is the astronomical definition. So another name for the album, Kevin, Terminator, but probably will be copyrighted by Warner Bros. And such of things in Hollywood. But you always can say this is astronomical definition. Kevin, please tell me, have you noticed any particular connections between the vastness of space and feelings of the relation or meditation in your listeners? Did you have a lot of concert in UK? You have interactions with your listeners. Did they told you the similar what I've told you 10 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago, that you influenced to our feelings during the listening to your music?
Yes, I mean, I do. People are very kind and they write very nice messages and emails to me about how the music has helped them. And particularly with the Deep Sky series, I do try to create that fast sound. Is that's in the studio. You can do that with effects and careful programming of all the sound. And I think it's that fastness that lets your mind sort of drift and you can sort of completely relax. But so I've had very nice messages saying that, you know, the music has helped people through bereavement and illness and difficult times in their lives. So I mean that always lifts me up and makes all the long hours in the studio worthwhile. You know, you get messages like that.
But are there any specific instruments or musical techniques you employ to evoke the sense of cosmic exploration in your compositions?
Yes.
Yes. Sure question.
Certainly there are. The thing with synthesizers is, you might think they're all the same, but each one does different things, you know. For example, this one here, you can only play one note at a time on. That's a Move Voyager. If you want to do the big chords, you need something like this one, you know. But these days, the beauty of it is everything, well, it doesn't just exist in a hardware form like these. It exists as software now, so you can buy synthesizers, replicas, accurate replicas of really expensive vintage synthesizers I would never be able to afford back in the day. For example, the Yamaha CS80 that Vangelis used, they sell for £20,000 plus.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, 800 maybe. But what you can get are software recreations, which are exactly the same. They look the same. You just move the sliders with a mouse instead of your fingers, you know. Sound the same, so it opens up that wonderful palette of sound that, you know, it's almost these days quite difficult to know where to start sometimes because you've got so much at your fingertips. There's one particular synthesizer that I go back to time and time again for the Deep Skies things, which is a virtual software synthesizer played from a keyboard. You know, you can control it via one of these. And there's all sorts of sound libraries, and you can edit the sounds, and that combined with effects such as reverbs, wonderful long reverb times now. When I first started producing albums, reverb was quite an expensive hardware unit you have to have in a rack. So, you know, you have to do a lot of saving up to be able to afford it and stuff like this. nowadays you get software reverbs again. Everything is on the laptop that I'm talking to you on. That's my studio. I can take this laptop to Norfolk and I can have it here in Hertfordshire in this studio. I can take the work with me, but everything is on the laptop, which is great. But the effects that I use for Deep Skies are long reverberation times, so you get this lovely, like being a big cathedral. Delays, which a lot of people would know them as echo. So you get the rhythmic repeats, bom, 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 that go into the distance. And that combined with the reverb gives you this sense of enormity, you know, if you get it right.
I can share with our viewers that your music, your tracks are very similar, but in the same way they are very different. You use the similar tones, you use the similar chords, but at the end they are very different. So that's perfection. That's mean the perfection of your music. And could you tell us also about your project, what you are in on Monday, every evening on Monday, Distant Horizons? What it is? It's a radio or a podcast or something like that?
Okay, well it's a radio show that we broadcast live. It's pre-recorded, but I'm live in the Facebook chat room so people can ask questions and we have interaction. It's great. It used to be weekly, but I don't know where I found the time to produce it weekly. But it's basically a show. I had an album called Distant Horizons. In fact, I have Distant Horizons 1 and 2, which I brought out in 1994. They were compilation albums, so that's where the name comes from. And then I met Steve Shepherd, who owns the One World Music radio station based in Cyprus. He used to live in the UK, and he's a good friend of mine. But he moved to Cyprus, started this radio station, and asked me if I'd be interested in doing a show. So I said, well, yeah, thanks very much, I will. So it's been running for a number of years, and it's because I've been doing this music so long, I've got quite a few hours I can draw on to get, the music is all my music, but it's we might have, for example, a spring theme show, so upbeat tracks that describe the spring. Or sometimes have a show about clouds. I've got 2 albums. Clouds and music,
Fabulous. Clouds 2, your album Clouds 2 is absolutely amazing, especially Peleus track, which I will show our viewers after when I finish editing our interview. I would like to show them only the trailers or fragments of your music, of course, to do not break the copyrights of YouTube, to be honest. So absolutely delighted. The Clouds 2 I have over there also Aurora, which refers to the Aurora Borealis, to be honest, yes?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's an album that I did a couple of years ago now. It's part of a series that I call Ambient Healing, because that and the other album, Insight, in that series, are specially designed for background. So when you're having treatment in a spa room or a therapy or something like that, it's ideal to have in the background. Provides a healing, sort of glowing environment in which you can have your treatments and just totally relax. You'll go into a sort of theta state, where the nearest state you can get to sleep without being asleep,
But also you composed some music to BBC, which I recall correctly. That's yes?
Yes, that was when I was still at school, actually. I'm trying to remember how it came about now. I think it was through one of my music teachers. And it was a BBC programme called The Sea of Faith. And it was a pilot episode for that they needed some music for. And very kindly, my music teacher suggested me because I had synthesized at the time, which was quite unusual back in the late 1970s, early 80s that was. But the music I produce now is also used by the BBC from time to time. So, funny enough, I remember seeing, the only time I've seen it, you get to hear about it after the event through the royalty statement.
Yeah.
My wife called me a few years ago. She said, "I'm sure this is one of yours," and it was actually a lunar eclipse. And they were on our local news. Someone like yourself, an astronomer, had captured this eclipse, and they used the First Light album for the music.
Kevin, last two things. If I may ask you, please get some insight, if you can, about your new album. Of course, not from you finished one. Are you have any ideas for the new one?
Afterglow.
Afterglow. Yes, I'm waiting for it.
It's coming. I was working on it today. A few little things to do. That's one of the ways I work. I listen and get to know it. And then all the little bits that slightly annoy me, I get to know where they are, so I can then go back in and change them. So that I always wait until, rather than rush it out, I wait until it's as perfect as I can get it, and then I release it.
That's correct. I've told you that I'm waiting for the Afterglow also, and for the Northfall, I have to buy it in the near future. Your album Northfall as well. And the last thing, if you give some message to the people who have struggled with daily life, and your music can help them to fight with their problems, because believe me or not, your music also heals their emotions. And helps to prevail in this difficult time, especially when the war is out of our borders here in Poland, and so on. A lot of problems are on the road.
Yes, it's awful at the moment. I agree. Yes, music can certainly heal. There's absolutely no doubt about that. I've long known that. The music I produce is harmonious, so there's no dissonance, so no clashing frequencies. All the frequencies are harmonious, and that brings about the state of sort of emotional balance, if you like. Just the sound vibration acting on your cells in a harmonious way, it has a healing effect. And it creates a lovely ambience that you can sort of just take yourself out of the real world for a little while and rediscover, who you really are. And it just takes you out of all the world's problems for a short time.
With that conclusion, Kevin, I would like to thank you for spending a time with us for your interview. Thank you for understanding me better, the universe and the world around us. With your music, believe me or not, but you have to believe me. From the bottom of my heart, I can say that I better understanding the universe during my observation. It helps me a lot. Thank you for this. And I will tell some word to our Polish viewers in my Polish language, of course, mother language. So, moi drodzy, dziękuję dzisiaj Kevinowi za spędzony czas z nami. Fantastyczny człowiek. Zapraszam Was do śledzenia kanału Kevina na stronie Eventide i również jego albumy, które możecie nabyć na stronie internetowej, na tejże stronie. Kevin jest również, ma swoją stronę na Facebooku, Distant Horizons. Tam możecie również śledzić jego poczyniania, jego muzykę. Serdecznie Was do tego zapraszam. To jest fantastyczny człowiek, jak sami widzicie, pomaga leczyć swoją muzyką. Kevin, thank you very much and be with me.
Thank you.